Hi everyone and welcome to this new speed build in The Sims 4, and today I'm building a house in StrangerVille in this more upper class, this very wealthy area of StrangerVille where usually you have Victorian style of houses, although here, as you can see, or as you will see soon, I will be building a more suburban-y looking house. And I know that this house looks a little bit out of place, but this was the house that I really wanted to build and I thought that I could actually use it for my not-so-berry legacy family. And I wanted for them to eventually move in StrangerVille, and I didn't want for them to live in the center of town because I've actually played a lot there. So I decided to build this suburban house in the wealthy area of StrangerVille for my not-so-berry legacy family. And as you will see, I will use different colors than I did last time for my previous house that I built for my not-so-berry family. Because here I will be using mainly orange colors or orange yellowy colors with a little bit of orange as well. Because I'm about to move on to the yellow generation, although I still have a few things to take care of for the rose generation, but I'm almost about to move on to the yellow generation. And I think I'm going to have Kizos, my yellow sim generation, move in here eventually. So I decided to build to decorate this house with a lot of yellow, and as you can see the wallpaper is yellow, the flowers that I will be using as well on the windows and also on the landscaping will be yellow as well. And there are going to be 3 bedrooms in this house, and each bedroom will have a different color. One will be yellow, of course, another one will be gray because the next generation after the yellow one is the gray generation, and also there will be a rose-ish kind of bedroom because I think Kizos' father, Sylvie, will be moving in with her, because what I'm thinking is to send Kizos into university as soon as she ages up into a young adult, and then as soon as she graduates from university I will have her move back in. But she will be moving in here with her father, who hopefully will be an elder, and I will be able to finally marry him and finish the rose generation for the very first time ever since I first tried the Not So Berry challenge, so I'm really excited about that. And by the way, I'm still having a lot of fun with this family, so also if you would like to check out what has been happening with them and where I'm at currently, you can go ahead and do so by checking out my Tumblr, which is always linked in the description of my videos. And basically there I share screenshots and basically the big moments and the big events that need to happen for the not-so-berry legacy to be accomplished on there, so make sure to check it out. And yeah, so here I'm currently starting working on the landscaping, and I did experiment a lot more with this house, and I tried to go with a little bit more details when it comes to the decorations and the clutter items as well. It's not too overwhelming, it's not too much, I still haven't gone too crazy when it comes to the details and the decorations, but I think I've made an improvement with the decoration of my house, and you can currently see that with the landscaping, especially with those flower beds, I want to say, those little gardeny area where I have currently placed the hedges with the yellow flowers on them, and I've placed those flower tiles, which I think came with the base game. By the way, I've used a lot of different items from different packs in this build. I just didn't want to stop myself from using different packs, but yeah, I've used those flower tiles, which I usually forget about. I remember that when I was playing The Sims 1 I used them a lot, but then after that I just stopped. I guess it comes from The Sims 2, because in The Sims 2 and even in The Sims 1 actually, when you use those, they're pretty at first, but you needed to take care of them and water them and sometimes weed them, and it was just very annoying. Thankfully, since The Sims 3, this is not a thing, so I think I'm going to be using those little tile flowers, as I want to call them, a little bit more often because they're very handy. Also, I will remember to go into the debug menu, and I will be using a few different plants that came with StrangerVille because these are actually very pretty, and here I am actually starting using those. And I really like the rosish and pinkish color that comes from those. I think it's really, really cool. And so here I'm starting working on the outdoor area where there's going to be the barbecue, and I'm also going to place a picnic table. And by the way, something that I forgot to talk about is that this house was highly inspired by the house from the TV show Malcolm in the Middle, because recently I've been feeling very nostalgic, and for some reason I wanted to watch the series and movies that I used to watch when I was younger. So I watched The Hunchback of Notre Dame, I watched Tangled, and also Mulan recently, and I also went back to Malcolm in the Middle. I went back to a TV show also that's called Awkward, which I used to watch I watched it I think a couple times when I was in high school. I really enjoyed that TV show. And Malcolm was, I think, is by far one of my favorite TV show. And as I was watching it, you know, we have those shots when we see the house from outside. And for some reason, it inspired me. And I thought, I'd love for Kizos eventually to move into a house such as this one. And I thought that I could maybe rearrange a little bit more the floor plan inside to be able to add an other room. So this way, rather than having 2 rooms in the house, we could actually have 3. Because I think that Kizos will have maybe 2 to 3 kids eventually, I think. And I also wanted to make it look a little bit more modern in the inside, because in the original house in Malcolm in the Middle, most of the furniture inside look a little bit old and kind of destroyed, but I mean, it goes with the TV show. So here I really wanted for the interior to look very cozy and comfy, but still a little bit modern. So you will definitely see the inspiration. Well, first of all, you can see it by how I've made the roof and also with the shape of the house, but also as I was doing the outdoor area where you have the picnic table, which we're actually coming back to right now. These things that I've placed that came with Island Living, I have no idea how they're called. I think they're used to stop the sun from hitting you too hard, I guess. These, you can see those in Malcolm in the Middle. I think they're not exactly those, but they have those in their backyard, and I decided to put that here because it looks actually really cool. Although, when you are in-game, because I played and tested this house and everything works perfectly, they're still in the way, you can still see them, and it's a little bit annoying, but I mean, it's not the end of the world, it's not awful. I'm just a little bit too perfectionist when it comes to gameplay, and I don't want to have anything in the way, and sometimes I just remove a couple dressers, because when you look at the room when you're building it, it looks great where you placed it, but when you go into gameplay, sometimes the bookshelf or the dresser is just in the way, so I just remove it or place it somewhere else. But here, I'm currently working on the interior, and I'm starting working on the floor plan, which is actually pretty much done. And I decided to place the kitchen, the dining area, and the living area, just like it is in the TV show. Except that here, there's only one living room, because I think in Malcolm in the Middle, you have this formal living room, which is in the entrance area. And you also have this more family, lived-in living room where the children usually spend time together watching TV. But I really didn't feel the need to have an extra living room in this house. I really wanted to have just 3 bedrooms here. Also, something that I might do maybe in the future if Kizos ever moves in this house is maybe add a downstairs, not a downstairs, how is it called? A basement, there you go. I actually had to pause my recording because I couldn't remember this word. I'm really tired today, I'm sorry. But yeah, I might actually add a basement so that she can maybe have an office area, because that was also something that I wanted for her to have, but it didn't happen in this house. So maybe I will build for her another house in the future. But I think this is going to be her first house anyway. But here you can actually see how I decided to place the kitchen and how I decided to design it basically. So you have the stove, which is just right in front of the front door. And I know that it can look a little bit odd to have the kitchen just like that with this half full as a separation, but I actually really liked it. And I also really liked this diagonal wall, which separates the living room from the entrance and in a way kitchen area. And it gives a bit more privacy to the Sims while they're hanging out together. And I will also be using a TV for once, because usually in my builds I never place TVs. But here I will be using the TV that came with the tiny living stuff pack, and so you have bookshelf, stereo, and TV combo together. And here I'm just adding a little bit more detail into the kitchen. I'm just using pretty much what I usually use, except that here I decided to go a little bit further and use the Move Objects cheat to place this soap disposal. I think that, no, it's not disposal. You know, this soapy thing that you use just next to the sink. Usually I don't do that because I'm a little bit too lazy and I feel like I don't know, I find that a little bit tedious just to place that little detail, but when I download houses from the gallery, I actually like to see that detail in the house, so I'm gonna try and do that a bit more often. And I'm also going to change the colors of the chairs here in the dining room, and I'm going to go for a bluish tone with those those stripes. What is with me today? Anyway, I'm going to go with those blue stripes on the chairs because I think it goes really well with the yellow. Actually, blue and orange are complementary colors, and for some reason as I was building this house, I was like, blue and yellow are complementary colors, which is actually not really the case. but I feel like it goes pretty well together. And also with the blue of the chairs of the dining room, it goes really well with this sofa that came with Parenthood in the living room. And I will be using also a little bit of purple in the living room so that these armchairs that came with Tiny Living goes pretty well with the sofa that came with Parenthood. And I will also place the desk area here in the living room. And also, as you might have seen, I decided to place those shelves just underneath the windows because I wanted to try something. But because of the way I've placed the TV and where I wanted the TV to be in, it just was in the way and it would have ended up being too annoying instead. But here I'm placing those new bookshelves in a way, you know, those books that we can actually use now in the game. And this was actually really handy because I wanted to have a lot of books everywhere since the yellow generation is supposed to be very good at logic and they're going to become an astronaut. And I also would love for Kizos to master the robotics skills. So I wanted for her to have a lot of books everywhere to be able to work on her skills. And you will see also in the yellow room that I will be, or actually her bedroom, the yellow bedroom, that I will be placing a bookshelf again. So you have a lot of bookshelves in this house because, as I said, the TV also is a combo with a bookshelf. So there's just books everywhere. And I'm also wondering if I didn't place another one on the desk. I don't remember exactly. Also, this rug that I've placed just underneath the coffee table and basically in the living area just goes so well with those armchairs and this sofa as well. I was so happy to see that all those colors just worked together so well. And as you can see also for the lamp that I've used on this desk, I decided to go for the purpley tone just to remind a little bit the cushion that you had on the armchairs. And also the standing lamp that I've placed just behind one of those armchairs in the corner of the room came with Tiny Living. I really like that lamp. I think it's really pretty. And also I think they said that this plaque in a way that you have, this shelf kind of that you have on this lamp can be used as a shelf, but you cannot place anything on it. I tried so many times, but you cannot place anything. And here I was actually trying to place a few different items next to this wall, but in the end, I will just place this kind of sitting area where I was thinking the Sims could actually sit down to tie their shoes and everything. And here I'm going to start working on the bedrooms. So as I said, there are 3 bedrooms, 1 yellow, 1 gray, and 1 rosish. And you also have only 1 bathroom. But I don't think there are going to be too many Sims in this house, at least at first. And if it ever starts to become a little bit overwhelming with the bathrooms, I might actually turn this laundry room, which is just next to the kitchen, into an extra bathroom. Maybe I can just add a toilet there because the yellow room is going to be quite a big room and I did not even know with what items I could actually fit it with. What am I saying? Fill in this room. That doesn't mean anything. Anyway, I didn't know what I wanted to place in this room so that the room didn't seem as empty. But the bathroom, I actually really like the layout of it. It's very simple, and this shower and bathtub combo was just perfect for this room. And it's actually quite small, but with this extra space for the bathtub, it actually goes really well. And it still leaves a lot of room for the yellow room to be big enough to be able to place a double bed. And also 2 hand table, a dresser, an armchair, a mirror, and a bookshelf. So, as I said, the yellow room is actually quite big. The gray room is actually the smallest one, but since it's supposed to be for a child, because I furnished it for a child, I think I could have maybe furnished it as, you know, for a toddler, but I don't know, I really wanted to use some items for children, and since, you know, decorating a room for a toddler, it's not I don't know, you don't really have a whole lot of things to use for toddlers and for babies. I just decided to go for a child. And you will also see that I will be using a lot of items that look kind of sporty since the gray generation is all about sports. Also singing, which is also why I decided to place a diary there, because I think these Sims, or actually the gray generation, is very in touch with their emotions. And you know, they might be very sporty, very active, and into bodybuilding and all of that. But I think they are very emotional as well for some reason. And I think I see that through their singing skill for some reason. But here I am working on the yellow bedroom, and I actually used the bed I think that came with I think it came with Get Famous. I never used this bed, but I thought that it was really cool because it had this minty color into it, and since the yellow generation used to be very close to the mint generation, I liked the idea of having this reminder that the yellow generation was so close to their grandparents. So here we go. And I'm going to try and have also a few pops of colors here and there of blue and minty colors, because I think it just goes really well with this idea that this generation still wants to remember their grandparents. But yeah, I didn't really add a whole lot of decorative items in this room. I didn't really know what to place, to be honest. But bedrooms are actually very tricky to furnish, because when you don't really have a sim in mind, I mean, here I had sims in mind, but I mean, what Kizos really wants to use, it's the item that she needs to build a rocket ship, and she cannot build a rocket ship inside the house, so I didn't really know what to place in there. Anyway, so here I'm working on the gray bedroom, and as I said, I wanted to use items for children and furnish this bedroom for a child, because it's a bit more, I think it makes a bit more sense, and you can actually go into a bit more details. And I like the fact that on the bed that I use, which came actually with Tiny Living, you have some yellow colors, because the gray generation is going to be the child of the yellow generation. So it was actually, I think, quite funny to see this pop of yellow coming into this bed. And I'm in love with the items that came with Tiny Living, and I actually tried to stop myself from using those too much, because I would have just built this house using almost entirely stuff from the Tiny Living stuff pack. But I just really like the design of them, and I really like how simple they are and how also detailed they are. I don't know, I really like those. And also I decided to go for the diary for the swatches that looks a bit more sporty, since, you know, the gray generation, once again, is supposed to be very sporty. And I decided also to place a hamper, I think this is how it's called, you know, this dirty clothes basket, into their bedroom, because technically, since they're going to be very sporty, they're going to work out a lot, and they will need to take more showers, and they will be stinky a lot, so they will need to wash their clothes, I think, a bit more often. Plus, I think that the gray generation will end up with the lazy or slop trait. I think it's the slop trait. So they will just put their clothes everywhere, so I don't even think it was very useful to place that here. But anyway, it made sense when it comes to, you know, how stinky they will become. Anyway, here I'm working on the rose bedroom, and I actually used most of the items that I've used in the bedroom that Sylvie is currently sleeping in the current house that I'm playing in. And I loved this painting that I've placed just above the bed. I think it's just beautiful, and it really reminded me of the view that they have just behind the house. So I decided to place it here, plus it had this rose-ish kind of tone, although this room really looks a little bit more peachy to me. But I don't know, I really like this tone, and since, you know, rose is kind of it can be either magenta colors type, or it can also be very palish rose, and I decided to go, as you can guess, with the really palish rose. I thought that it could actually go pretty well. And I don't remember what I've placed here. I think I just placed this chair, and I was thinking maybe that a Sylvie could be reading here. Or maybe he could just be sitting while watching himself in the mirror, because he's supposed to accomplish, or actually to master, the charisma skill, which he did when he was a teen, by the way. And here I'm moving on the laundry area, and it's going to be very simple. I will just place a laundry machine and a dryer. And I will also place this, how is it called? I feel like this is the word that I say the most. How is it called? Because I actually cannot remember the name of this item that came with cats and dogs that allows you to get rid of hairs on the ground from the pets. I don't remember how it's called. I cannot remember the name of this thing. Anyway, I placed it here. Your Sims can use it. As I said, I played and tested this house. It works perfectly. And I placed it here because I thought, you know, it's just this laundry room, so it kind of makes sense. And so here I'm working on the backyard, and here is where I placed the rocket ship thing that Kizos will eventually work on. And I will also place, just underneath this tree, a bench for the Sims to just look at the view, maybe at the sunset and everything, and it's just beautiful, this area. So I was just thinking that placing a bench here was just perfect, especially for screenshots and everything. So I will place a bench, and I will also put a swing set for the children to play in. And I was also thinking placing a basketball hoop somewhere, but I didn't really know where. I was thinking maybe this awkward little space in the, in the eating area, where I first placed the barbecue, but then I placed a tree, so I can maybe just change that to place a basketball hoop, since the gray generation is supposed to really like basketball. But yeah, here I'm just adding a few more details to the landscaping outside, or actually in the backyard, because I've spent so much time in the front yard that I've kind of neglected the backyard. But I'm just pretty much doing the same thing that I did in front, except that it's a bit more sparse and not as detailed, I would say, than in the front yard. But you know, it's the backyard and they're going to spend quite a few time here, so there you go. And here I'm going to place the bench and I'm going to add a candle just next to it, and yes, the view from this bench is just beautiful. And here I'm placing the swing set, and I'm going to add some plants around as if the swing set had been there for a very long time. But anyway, I'm going to leave you here, guys. So I really hope that you like this house. Let me know in the comments what you think. Of course, in the description you will find all of the information you need to download it on the gallery, and you will also have a link for the online gallery if you want to find it on there. But if you want to find it in-game, you can do so by using my origin ID, which is Mojam11. And as I said, I really hope that you enjoyed this video, that you like this build, and that you will enjoy the rest of this video. And I will talk to you in the next one.